Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
You're goddamn right.
Cool.
Heisenberg.
Jeff's in his tiny whities.
Anytime we say anything negative about a film or each other or really anything at all, anything negative, you're going to hear the sound. That's the buzzer, and that buzzer means we need to drink alcoholic items. We have beer. John decided to go with something a little harder. I know there's ice cubes because every time he takes a drink, we hear a little clink clank in the microphone there.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's right. We're going to try to keep it positive, people.
So, pour yourselves a glass and make it a double IPA, because if you've seen this movie, that'll be the second time you shit your pants this week.
Oh, my.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
It's funny because this is sort of a horror film. I can't tell if that's a good shitting of the pants or a bad shitting of the pants, but the audience is curious.
It's funny. It's more, to be honest, it's more tense than scary. And I can tell you, the guy sitting next to me in my IMAX theater was not handling the tension at all. It was hilarious to watch.
Stop sitting next to people.
There was no choice. This was packed.
Okay, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I saw this at 9 a.m. on a Sunday, and it was pretty crowded for a 9 a.m. call. It was pretty.
Wow,
pretty cool.
you were like at 24 hours off Piano Man.
24 hours off Piano Man. It's 9. That's interesting.
Name of Jeff's memoir, part 1.
Okay, anyway, guys, if you're new to the podcast here, we try to keep it spoiler free for a couple of minutes. This movie just came out. This is Jordan Peele's newest entry, Nope. If you've been looking at the title of this episode, you'll know that's what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, spoiler free for a couple minutes, then we're going to get into it. Try to keep it positive, on an open-ended conversation. Please, if you're new to the podcast and for some reason you were drawn to this podcast, like, subscribe. Dave set up a link tree. We had a couple recent episodes. We've been doing a lot of limited release movies that hopefully maybe in this slow August, if you're looking for things that are coming out. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, Phantom of the Open. We did The Outfit recently, which is now on fucking Peacock. We did, what's another limited release one we did recently? The Crimes Against
the Future.
Crimes
the
Against
Future. Fucking, we saw it. Anyway, give us a follow and reach out to us. Dave will respond drunkenly. John, can you shout our sponsors out, please?
We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. You can find him in the show notes. The handle for Instagram is cbarroso.beer. And all the music on this episode and every single episode is provided by the artist Dasein. Follow the link in the show notes to find all that music available for free on SoundCloud and coming soon to all the other platforms. You guys, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about.
So, John, and that's really the end of our spoiler-free section. So
no, stop. We can give our initial takeaways. Let you know what we think. Let you know what we feel about the movie before we get in. John, you saw this movie early for me. Thank you, because you were going to go to a screening on Wednesday, and somebody was supposed to be there, and they ended up not being able to go. So, right? Weren't you supposed to go to a special screening?
I think you're conflating the past 2 weeks, but I am going to a special screening of Nope this Wednesday at the IMAX headquarters here in Los Angeles, which I'm pretty excited about.
Reminder, we do this show drunk, people.
So that means for me, because I didn't want to see this twice in the exact same format, I actually chose, I'm curious to hear what you guys say, because I saw it in a regular digital theater, a smaller theater for this time.
Oh, good.
So that I can save the big whammy and all the swirling sound and the larger screen for IMAX. So, yeah.
Nice. If anybody pisses you off in the theater, you could just go ahead and spoil the.
My buddy, one of our recent co-hosts, Chris Hurt, who was on a couple weeks ago and about a month and a half ago, he's going to join me on Wednesday, and he also is seeing it tonight in regular, so that we can both see it in IMAX on Wednesday night. So we'll see what the big whoop is.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and start talking about Nope. Dave, any gripes this week besides the person next to you not being able to?
No, that guy was great. It was almost as entertaining as the film. No, I have no gripes. No gripes.
I had a guy leaning forward in his chair, smiling, like bouncing up and down at one tense part at the end. And I was like, fuck yeah, it got me into it too. It's cool.
There was a guy behind us who really like one of those unfortunate assholes who like single-handedly like probably ruined the movie for a lot of people.
Oh, no.
He was just everything was the funniest thing you've ever seen, if it was even remotely funny, and anything that was scary He was, oh, he's like screaming at the screen, like talking in the silent noise, making jokes and stuff throughout. It was a real shame. He kind of pissed off everybody in the theater, but he had a blast. That guy had a great fucking time.
Nice. All right. Well, I think everybody's been doing the usual, going around and like doing a little Jordan Peele thing, because he has now entered the lexicon of this is a Jordan Peele film, which of course every film is a director's film, but he's an auteur, and he really took the world by storm with Get Out after we knew him from being very successful at Key and Peele and transitioning from, is Get Out going to be Keanu or is Get Out going to be the subversive, like possible masterpiece that it ended up being. So Get Out, well, John and I, we saw Keanu in the theaters, and I do not remember it.
Jeff, I forgot that until you just said that. Did we actually do that?
Yes.
That's
I'm not even buzzing that. That's
truly forgettable. Sorry, you guys, but I didn't even know what you were talking about.
To be fair, you know, that was definitely the two of us, because we laughed a lot during this movie, but we went really late one night, so this it was so funny. Yeah, we saw Keanu. Anyway, let's do Get Out and Us. What'd you guys think of Get Out? What'd you guys think of Us before we get into Nope?
Dave.
I enjoyed the ride with Get Out. I did find some bits of it really, really tense. I enjoyed everything he was doing there. Us, I actually really enjoyed more. A lot of people didn't think Us was as good.
Correct.
I found a lot of, like, I liked the mythology setup and the fact that you have no idea what's going on at first, and then they slowly reveal bits, and then of course you've got your twist and stuff at the end, because sometimes they have a twist. And I actually really enjoyed both of those.
Great performance. That was one of the better performances that year. Lupita Nyong'o, fucking powerhouse. Yeah. Terrifying. Yeah, John, what do you think? Get Out and Us.
She's a superstar. I really enjoyed Get Out. I don't know if I made it to the place that a lot of the rest of the world seemed to get to. I thought it was an amazing, really, debut for him trying to do that kind of serious film. So that one really worked for me. I had fun and I enjoyed it. And I did not, Us really didn't work for me. And, maybe I just need to see it again, but it didn't click. I really didn't enjoy what he was trying to do with that one, in spite of the incredible performances, and the aesthetic and look of it was gorgeous. The cinematography was really impressive. So he was, I really liked him, and then he lost a notch on the belt for me, and I think I'm back with Jordan Peele for Nope. I really enjoyed this film.
Oh, we're off to a good start there. Cool. I think I agree more with John on this one. I remember seeing Us. I really, really like Get Out. I need to rewatch it before I say, like, oh my God, it really was that. It really blew me away. I saw it because it got good. I saw it very early because of Sundance. So I probably saw it the week it came out, as a lot of people did. It's not like special, but I remember being like, what the fuck? I was very surprised. And I think that surprise element really like took it up a notch for sure, which of course, when you are that person, now that you lose that element of surprise, so to speak. So with Us, I was expecting the scary shit that I got out of the trailers, but then, I hate when things are explainy, and I do feel like Lupita Nyong'o's character kind of explained the point, which is okay, because it comes later in the film, but then the more she was explaining the film, the less on board with it I was. And then of course the friend that I was with, who I'm not going to name because he shat all over the movie, was like mad at Us for breaking its own rules. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember what those rules were, but I think a lot of people are, as Dave mentioned,
me, because I was really frustrated by that movie too.
It wasn't you.
I'm trying to think what rules it had.
Anyway, I don't remember, but there were some scary bits for sure. It was cool, and I'm definitely terrified to be in a glass house by the shore.
It's like, Hands Across America is secretly evil.
So let's get it. So let's
the ending.
Let's get into, that was funny. Let's get into Nope here. So Jordan Peele, written and directed with his producer, I believe it's Ian fucking who is it?
Official middle name?
Ian Cooper.
Ian Cooper. Yeah.
I think Ian Cooper was the first person that he started telling the idea to.
You mentioned being in the church. It's like, what's the child's name? Oh, it's Ian fucking.
Ian fucking Cooper. That's it.
They chase you out with like brands of fire.
Hi, this is Ian Cooping, middle name fucking. This stars, of course, Daniel Kaluuya, who I believe it just came out recently. He did not do the Black Panther sequel, even though his character survived the first Black Panther, because of this movie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You lose the two big stars, one in a very tragic and untimely early death that really took with Chadwick Boseman, and then Michael B. Jordan's character, and now you lose Daniel Kaluuya because he did a different movie.
Is that an entire misdirect and it's him in the suit?
That would be fucking interesting. You're the
I don't
Marvel
trust.
expert.
I don't trust fucking Marvel at all anymore. Like they could pull anything.
I love that they released Phase 5 and everybody went, huh?
Yeah, it's like, what do you?
What happened to Phase 4?
Yeah, what do you mean Phase 4? So Phase 4 was a space holder? What?
Where did Phase 4 go, and what are these properties? Anyway, for another time, we're talking about Nope today, people. This is Daniel Kaluuya, fucking Keke Palmer, who won an Emmy Award last year. Emmy Award winner Keke Palmer, who's been acting forever, apparently. I looked her up. I hadn't recognized her before, but God, she was fun in this movie as OJ Hayward. Otis Jr. Hayward was Daniel Kaluuya, and Keke Palmer was Emerald Haywood, his younger sister. Their father, Keith David, who I will always know as the ass-to-ass guy.
It's back to back. It's back to back. I don't think it's ass to ass, right?
No excuse for
Doesn't he say back to back? I think
I'll just drink. I think.
Yeah,
that close up.
It's
that close up. It's the close up smile. That is what I always think of.
That's what it is. I think he says ass to ass, but well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I also pause. I think. Part of me really, I just one of the reasons that I really love Jordan Peele is, I think he knows that 3 white guys on a podcast are going to have to refer to a character as OJ for 45 minutes, and I think that was part of the thing that gave him joy for sure. Brendan,
it's in the movie, right? Somebody makes fun of it.
Somebody makes yeah. Brendan Perea, who is the cross if Riz Ahmed and Dave Franco had a baby.
Honestly,
it is really Brendan Perea.
That's not getting a buzz. That's
specifically like the bleach, especially the bleach tips, like the exact look from Sound of Metal. I was like, somebody's got to say that he resembles him. Like, that's kind of weird.
But with a little Dave Franco in there too, and then of course Stephen Yeun,
really funny.
who
he was good.
A good part in the trailer. The 2 trailers took the place by storm. Oh, a little teeny tiny featured role from Barbara Ferreira, who you might know from Euphoria.
Oh yeah. What was she doing in the background? She's great on Euphoria.
Yeah, I wonder if she did the thing where she's like, "I'll say yes to anything you do," and then sees the final film and was like, "I hope I didn't take a step back." Anyway, sorry. You know, like George Clooney's like, "Of course I'm doing Oh Brother Where Art Thou?" The Coen brothers asked me to do a movie. And she's like, "Of course I'll do Nope. Jordan Peele asked me to have 2 lines in this movie." I'm so sorry. Let's get into the movie. The residents. This is the description on IMDb. The residents of a lonely gulch.
Gulch. I love that word. We heard it like 3 times in this movie.
In Inland, California, outside of LA, bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. It's fucking aliens, man. It's in the trailer. I was wondering if in the trailer I was like, damn it, did they need to tell us that it was aliens? But obviously they knew what they were doing. You know it's aliens going in, but you don't know everything. So that's it for me.
And that's one thing I'd like to bring up as well. I'm normally
do you want to bring it up now?
Yeah, I do.
Dave.
I'm really, really hard on marketing people. But in my opinion, this has one of the best marketing campaigns I've seen in a very long time.
Can you explain spoiler free?
Well, literally, yes, I can. They literally release a poster that was just the cloud with the streamer hanging out of it, and Nope. And like that was it. That became the poster. And then they released a trailer that told you nothing and added more questions. And then they released another trailer which revealed this is a movie about aliens, and like that you can see the ship in the trailer. And then they released another poster with the tagline, "It's not what you think." And I went in with questions. I was intrigued. I was like, if it's not what I think, and they've already shown me this, what the hell is going to happen in this movie? It got me. Hook, line, and sinker. I was in.
Nice. What about when
really
you actually
good? Really good marketing campaign.
How about actually seeing the movie?
Well, the movie actually like ticked all the boxes. Like they everything that they set up in their marketing campaign, everything had an answer. There was an answer. There were a couple of other things. Like this movie opens with one of the best "what the fuck" moments I've ever seen.
I didn't know it was the opening of the movie, or if it was like somebody's weird like production company, and I was like, are there fucking footage just getting weird? What a way to promote your company.
These pre-movie logos are getting really fucking long.
Well, because one of the companies is Monkey Paw, right?
Yeah, so it was weird. They must have done it. They followed that one on purpose, I think. I think they wanted to fuck with
it. It was like Monkey Paw, and then a bleeding monkey over a body. I was like, what?
Yeah, it definitely opens with something that creates a fuck ton more questions right at the beginning of the film. But again, they do go through and they address a lot of this stuff, and it becomes apparent like what that's about. I think he took a lot of care with this, to be honest. Like it was a good ride. It took took its time to build up. You got to know the characters that you're playing with, and then when they finally got into like finally spotting something, it was so quick. You're like, fuck. What? And the thing I think I like the most is all of the reactions in this movie for me were 100% realistic. Anytime there was something scary, it was like, I'm the fuck out of here or whatever. You know, it's like it was a genuine human reaction to some of this stuff. I mean, some of it was based on fear, some of it was based on greed, some of it was based on wanting to get, you know, famous or whatever. But like every reaction was absolutely 100% human.
Totally. He's first of all, I'll parrot you about how cool the trailer was in the marketing campaign. And for what it's worth, Jeff, I know what you're talking about with like, I think I saw like Get Out really early on because it had a lot of buzz from Sundance, but the marketing, if you will, around Get Out was still really strong, but it was mostly riding on the buzz. But I think the trailer for Us was incredible.
Yeah,
like he's
almost
really
too
good at
for the movie. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it was. I thought it was better than, but it was. But the short form stuff, he's good at teasing it out and getting you interested. So I thought this was really successful. I was excited to see it, and I will agree with you, Dave, 100%. And I think we can say it now. In his movies, Jordan Peele has a real touch with actors and performances. He gets really, really good work. So my critiques, I think, moving forward for him will never have to do with that. You know, I might have things to say about story and stuff, but I'm always going to believe what's happening, which is like, I don't think people realize how difficult that is to do. You don't just hire a good actor and walk away. There are plenty of directors who do that, but it's not going to be as evocative of a performance. He clearly gives them space, gives them time. There are a lot of lingering edits in this movie where you really have to just kind of sit with them and you're kind of thinking what's about to happen. And sometimes nothing happens. It's just so you can watch that character thinking something is about to happen. So you have to have a lot of trust in your actors to do that.
And that also sets up the fact that like when something does happen, it's even more effective. Because it's like it builds the tension, so that it's like tension, nothing, tension, nothing, tension, nothing, tension. What the fuck was that?
Yeah,
like it's an oldest time, that technique. But yeah,
I think my favorite part about this movie, and look, it's hard. I don't know if I would say this for every filmmaker, but just everything that we all, as members of the American pop culture zeitgeist, understand about him. He came from such a prolific, successful career in comedy. And Get Out had so much humor. So he was clearly like, he knows that people let him fuck with that when he wants to. Again, it did not work for me and Us at all. I didn't understand the tone of that movie. I don't think people were in the same movie. It really fell flat for me. The comedy and dark comedic moments in Get Out were, I thought, very successful.
This was, I think, the most successful.
See, well, I think there were a lot of like quirky moments with the family where or with Elizabeth Moss, where he wanted you to laugh and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck, what's happening? This, I felt like, was the bullseye. Yeah. It came out of organic, realistic behavior that were based on really intimate familial relationships for the most part. I didn't really laugh the most at maybe the quote jokier moments with the beginning with the film shoot, the commercial shoot or whatever that was.
No, I don't think that was meant to be funny.
I think he was poking fun at Hollywood, and I think there was some wink, joke moments in there.
I don't know if it was like meant to be funny poking fun though. It was meant to be like, take a look at yourself a little bit.
I mean, with the satire of that, what's the difference, right? You know,
with the sitcom or with the commercial?
The commercial.
The commercial.
The sitcom was funny.
And even when they introduced, again, this guy really did kind of ruin a lot of the comic moments for us in our theater. But when they introduce the what's his name, the tech guy, I don't want to call him Brandon Perea, when they introduced him, he's clearly like got a lot of jokey moments in the beginning. The comedy really came to be for me when the fear started kicking in and these people were just dealing with what the fuck is happening. Like, that's when I started really smiling a little bit and being scared, which I think that's Jordan Peele's bullseye. He wants you to smile. He doesn't want to have like true levity where you get to break and say, thank gosh, we get to laugh. He wants you to like smile and be like, and then get scared again.
Because like that's how I think in a traditional horror film, like, someone hears a noise or sees something move, they fire up the cigarette lighter and walk into the dark looking for it. That does not happen in this movie.
Yeah.
So I thought this was successful in a lot of different ways. I had issues with the last 10 minutes, and we'll talk about it. But
I think a lot of people
still had fun. I still had a really good time, and I thought coming off of Us, for me, just for John's sake, this was an enormous success coming from where I think he swung and missed with Us.
Same.
Sorry.
I'm gonna finish up the spoiler-free section here by agreeing with you guys so much that I'll say that it has good reviews. It has 82% on Rotten Tomato, and they're all not as glowing as Get Out, but everybody's very positive on it. But there are some people that straight up don't like it, and it's very interesting for me to look like reading that, and because you got to read between the lines a little bit. And so the reasons are it's a little too long. Like if you need that much time for horror, you're doing something wrong. And I was like, that's horse shit, man. Like Jaws is 2 hours. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, horror critics can be very bitchy.
But also they're like, it's not pure horror. It's not real this. It's not real that. And I'm like, guys, come on, genre.
No,
we
it's
make
not.
genre so we can box things up. But like, of course, it's not a pure, true, real. And you know what? If it was, they would rip it apart for breaking tropes anyway. So like, you know, who gives a shit? Like, you want to be not genre subverting. You just want to make the film that you need to make. And he really wanted to make this alien movie, and it's an alien movie that is called Nope. He's very intelligent, so that's very aptly chosen, which I like, you know, because every other movie, I'm staying away from spoilers, but every other movie about aliens is about like, oh, should we connect with them? Are they good? Are they bad? And this is just straight up like, no, no, we're not into it. At least that's certainly the very beginning of this confrontation, which I'm not going to get into, but at this particular moment. But it's really interesting seeing these kinds of conversations come about, because yes, there are things like the ending that we should talk about, but they're also things that you know were done intentionally by somebody who is good at their job. You know that there was tension throughout. So if you're watching this movie and maybe you didn't like the payoffs, but the brilliant thing about it is that a lot of the tension is, yes, between the characters, but also between the unknown, looking up to the sky, looking up to the vistas, to the mountains, to the you know, looking out. And so you as the audience, like, how can you not feel tension when it's shot so spectacularly? It looks incredible, but also it is timed in such a way, and you get these reaction shots. You get the dynamic between the two of them, where you have Daniel Kaluuya, who is... He won an Oscar. This always happens, right? Where he's known for kind of like introspective, like, you know, roles. Not that Get Out was that introspective, but it was a lot of self-reflection of that character and what was going on. And then he wins an Oscar for this boisterous, big personality. And now he's in a role where like, you almost don't even know if he's reacting to something. It's so subtle. And his sister, Keke Palmer, is like everybody's best friend, huge personality.
It's like the opposite of the introvert extrovert spectrum. They came out on the opposite ends.
Yin and yang. There's the siblings that are interconnected by this, their little family dynamic and tension. Plus you bring in an outsider, and then you bring in another outsider, which is just perfectly timed, keeping it small. It's a small film, but it's shot huge on a big screen.
Yeah, was this his pandemic film?
Did you
he started developing it during that, but I think he filmed it afterwards, you know.
Okay.
Jeff, did you see it? Really did you see it in IMAX, or did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it in IMAX. I was gonna see it in Dolby Digital, and then the person I was gonna see it in got COVID. Thank God I did. Thank God they tested that day. So they were like, "Sorry, I have COVID." I was like, "Okay, good. I'm gonna go see it in IMAX instead."
Because I will say this was shot not for IMAX. This was shot in 65mm IMAX film.
Yeah,
like not just
by one
IMAX
of the. Let's give it up, Hoyte van Hoytema. You know. Filmed this.
Who did fucking Interstellar?
There was actually a really good conversation where there was like Jordan Peele mentions that he asks, if you were trying to capture a shot that would affect humanity, what camera would you use? And they were like, an IMAX camera, because the resolution just shits all over everything else. And he's like, well, that's what we're filming in.
I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, so they shot it on IMAX film, and I was in Lincoln Center with, you know, the image was fucking 6 stories tall.
Yeah.
It looked fucking amazing, and the whole movie is that size. Like, they took so much care with the image capture, and the color on this is immaculate. Those night scenes almost look like a fucking surrealist canvas sometimes. Like the pans they do upward across the clouds, and it's like, is something there, is something not? But like, they took so much care with the image of this. It was important. It was almost like a character itself.
I love that
location was a character itself too.
Oh my God, yeah. The height of the IMAX, I never really appreciated that until this movie, because I'm all about the wide format. I think it's a great way to watch film, but when you are looking out at the sky and you're looking at the clouds and whether or not they're moving and stuff, and the height you get in an IMAX, where it's like, I really feel like I'm having peripheral vision, because it's not just the width. It has that height element too. It's cool.
Which is unique to, you know, this is a good thing for... You're asked the right question about what do we do for this story, blah, blah, blah. We've seen plenty of amazing Westerns shot in old CinemaScope 7235, and it's so wide, or it's really breathtaking, but everyone knows the irony is that most of those were developed for big epics and westerns in the 50s and 60s. But the irony is that anyone who lives in the West or the Southwest will tell you 90% of your view is sky. The horizon makes up a very small patch when you look in any direction. So I thought this was a really effective way to use that. And again, let's give him some props. He is a fucking crazy cinephile. So, and Jordan Peele, he's clearly very intelligent, but from Get Out, from the beginning, his attention to the visual is pretty remarkable, considering he wrote sketches about, really silly things for a very long time. And not just silly things, but you know what I mean? He has that comedic eye. He's thinking about performance and timing, but he clearly understands what the visual aspect of cinema can do. And I was very affected by that. Probably that and the performances trumped everything that I may have had any issues with the story, just because it's so compelling to watch.
And, because there's some things that I want to circle back and ask you about when we get to the spoiler section in 1 second that they don't necessarily make 100% sense, but I do know one thing, that this movie is going to be, I think, the most rewatchable out of the three. Not that Get Out's not. Too. Obviously, a lot of people have watched Get Out a bunch of times, but I feel like this is the kind of movie that you can rewatch and pull some new things out of,
I'm really curious to go see it again in like 2 nights, because I don't like seeing movies that close together. If I have a decent time rewatching it, I know I'm going to be able to rewatch it again in the future after a year goes by or something.
I mean, the other thing is there are little things hidden in this film that help the plot along too, that you can miss very easily. So it'll be very interesting to see, talk to you after a second watch and see if you pick up on some of that stuff.
I'll check in with you guys next week.
Nice. So let's go ahead and turn the spoilers on.
Going to spoilers. It's spoiler time.
We won't go right to James Bond dying like John did for our.
I might rip it out and just ask you guys the big question. I want to start with what you started with. Let's start with the opening of the film.
The chimp.
Yeah. Because there are a few places that this motif of a recall to this failed late 90s sitcom that eventually Stephen Yeun's character, the neighbor to this gulch, Daniel Kaluuya, and the Haywood's neighbor, who owns like a come and see us jamboree kind of live action ghost town ranch.
It's a roadside theme park, basically. Yeah.
Stephen Yeun.
So you learn later that he was in this thing that you see at the very beginning, which was a sitcom starring a live chimpanzee. And apparently at some point, the chimpanzee, Gordy, breaks, which is, I guess, we'll get back to that in a second. I guess that's the most important word, and goes berserk. It's a live studio audience. He ends up attacking some of the cast members and maybe other people. But they show you this scene multiple times throughout the film where it's an empty taping, soundstage for where the sitcom was shot, and Stephen Yeun as a little boy is there, and this chimpanzee has just gone berserk and just killed a bunch of people. And y'all, I don't even know if I needed this in the movie, and I just don't know if it was. I'm really not. What did you think about it? Because I don't really know what it did for the movie.
A lot of people have circled
it. It was
a lot of people
central to the theme. The whole theme was the use of animals in entertainment and how it can go wrong. They make Siegfried and Roy references. He tries to use the ship for entertainment. Obviously the Gordy incident, which was loosely based on a real incident, by the way. And it's basically about animal cruelty and using animals for profit and entertainment. That's one of the central themes of the film.
That's exactly what I would guess. And just help me out here, you guys. I wanted to talk to Jordan Peele. I wanted to have this conversation. Sometimes he does things. He won't
tell you. He won't tell you.
Yeah, sure. Well, sometimes I feel like, Jordan, if you're listening, sometimes I feel like this kind of thing happens where it seems like it's so on the nose that I know you're looking for deeper waters with it. So I guess what I would ask him is, it seemed so antithetical to the actual outcome of the story that if it was supposed to be used as a metaphor, then they would have been trying to break and take advantage of this spaceship, if we're ready to go there, this thing. And that's not what they ever tried. They never tried to do that. Not once. They were trying to destroy it. They were trying to capture it and then trying to destroy it. So it wasn't like, if this was a different story where they thought they had...
Wait, was that Dave?
Except for Stephen Yeun, he was not trying to capture it. He was trying to use it to reestablish his career. to bring people in. He turned it into a source of entertainment.
I know, but he's not the protagonist. So if the protagonists aren't living out the theme, can it really be called the major theme of the story? And I guess what I'm saying is that these flashbacks to Gordy made me feel like he was trying to prop up the major predominant theme. And I don't think it was. I think it was actually antithetical, and it was used as a metaphor inappropriately, and it actually ended up ruining the ending for me.
So if
it kind of got in the way of it.
I'm saying on this because I'm curious, because there's a racial element so far to the other films with Jordan Peele, as there should be. In fact, one of the reasons I love the white sitcom so much is because I almost think it's hilarious, and I almost think he's saying. I remember the Chappelle thing where it's like part of the reason Dave Chappelle, is according to him, I'm not just like opining, that he hated the Chappelle show and the way that it came is because like white people didn't it's same thing with Mean Girls, right? The whole point of Mean Girls is we should be good to each other, but all girls want to be after they see it is bitchy. They want to be the mean girls. You know what I mean? That's the opposite of the point. Same thing with Chappelle show. You wanted it to he didn't want white people to be like, oh my God, this is so funny. Like he wanted people to go, oh yeah, shit, fuck. You know what I mean? Or at least that's what they should have thought, and we just didn't. We said, ha ha ha, look at us, we're so stupid. I think with this, I'm just so curious about what the actual unpacking of it, because there doesn't we don't need that in this film, but it obviously is real. I mean, we're talking about the first image, which obviously, it's pretty famous that the first moving image was a black jockey on a horse. Nobody knows the black jockey's name. Nobody knows where the horse came from. And nobody really cares. So that is important to the legacy. These characters are made up, but it's loosely based off of like, well, what if that person was a horse trainer and had a family, and that's who this family is. Stephen Yeun's character had a connection with the chimp. Stephen Yeun's character is the only non-white person in this set, and the other white people seem to have been completely demolished. And the chimp had this connection that they were like kind of friends for whatever reason. It could have been kids. It could have been the outsider thing that they were both being taken advantage of by this white capitalistic, enterprise. And then just when they became friends, chimp murdered, and then Stephen Yeun turns into that in a way. He does take advantage of that, and therefore, he has to succumb to his death. But by the monster, right? Because he's like, wait, I thought you didn't learn your lesson. Which, of course, I'm with you though, John, because this is alien versus human. We think. I mean, we'll talk about what the alien fucking thing is in a second, because it kind of looks like the ribbon of a camera to me a little bit. It could be something different for everybody, but it's curious that it's not the main character. So what does that have to do with Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer's character going after this alien thing? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm hoping that if we get the answer, we're not going to be disappointed.
It is a wandering tale. It like the Gordy thing sets his frame of mind. It's why he decides to start, because basically he's been feeding this thing horses for like a couple of months to keep it there, and he decides to make a show out of it. Yeah. He turns it into rampant consumerism, and it consumes him, literally. And I thought that was a great point, but like that sets up the other plot line with these guys who have nothing to do with this like West Village that he's got going on. But that's the reason it's sticking around, and that's the reason it's now considers this its territory, because he's been fucking feeding it. He's the inciting incident.
Yeah, I mean,
but you don't find that out until halfway through the movie, which is kind of cool.
True. Yeah, no, true. I like the movie. I'm just this is what you do with these kinds of movies. Yeah. And he purposefully ends it with questions. And I wonder if he knew how much we would be going after this sitcom sketch. I wonder if he knew that. I bet you he did, but I don't know. Is anything stirring up for you, John? Because I think part of it has to be an exploitation. There has to be something about exploitation in there. And I'm wondering how it relates back to the family. Are they the ones being taken? Well, why does he look like Clint Eastwood at the end on the horse? Like there has to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I said ruin the movie. It didn't ruin it for me. It did kind of take some of the air out for me, because I was like, whether we like it or not, when you're going to try to have a story that involves some kind of cerebral or social commentary or existential, philosophy, you got to expect that your audience, maybe during, but definitely after the fact, is going to be asking some questions. And if you put it in the genre of sci-fi, where we are constantly asking questions, we're watching this movie with the front of our brain. You're always trying to poke holes and try to find the patterns and trying to understand the unknown. You're doing what characters are doing. So it's a tall order. So I guess what I would want to what I would want to ask him if I could was that there were certain things that did seem very clear to me. Everything you guys just laid out seemed like that's in line with what you're saying. That's in line with the theme. I don't think it's an accident that the older white male cinematographer who sat at home watching footage of animals in black and white, specifically, this, really binary, really right there for you to care. I don't think it's an accident that he was the one who thought he could capture them in the impossible shot, and it ended up costing him his life, which I don't understand. We'll get there in a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't understand that sequence.
No, that's totally real. That's how all DPs want to go out, like eating while filming a monster alien at golden hour.
But there were certain aspects of the exploitation stuff that we expect from Jordan Peele, and it's not a deep think. It's right there, and it's like, but it's part of the cake, and you enjoy it, you buy into it. It added to the flavor of the movie. This one just seemed like it was the ultimate statement or the ultimate question, and it really did. I don't know what other word to say. It felt antithetical because of what they ended up doing, and because it didn't seem. If this was a story about the Haywood family as a group, or even not even as a group, but maybe just the children, the two of them, struggling with whether or not they wanted to keep the ranch because of some issues they had with the entertainment industry, I would be fine. But that's not what this movie is about. It's not even close to being what their story is about. It's about them fucking killing an animal.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's also about his journey to become his father.
His father,
who is killed
like,
at the beginning. There is some really good subtle shit at the beginning too. Like just before his father gets taken out. Like, did you hear the news report that they panned past? Like,
what was the news?
There's a little news report that just reports on a whole heap of missing hikers in the region.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
It's not just about killing an animal. It's definitely the big questions that we often deal with movies about the wild and movies about for the frontier space. Man or woman, or us versus nature, us versus the unknown. And therefore we always have to bring ourselves into that because it's going to make you realize there are things you don't know about yourself. The classic sci-fi questions. I just didn't feel like the way he ended up playing it out. It felt more like, okay, one of my favorite parts about this movie was how he knew that this was a movie about people who make movies. And so there were a lot of homages to like Westerns and cinema in general, the music, the Western music, when they were doing their big sequence, the trapping sequence, the last 40 minutes of the movie. I felt like he knew that it started to turn into an adventure film. And I was fine with that. I was like, this is great. But then I think he cuts back to Gordy one last time, this sitcom thing. And I was like, what is he trying to hammer home? He's going in two different directions now. And part of me loves the ambiguity of asking questions. I'm a huge David Lynch fan, but it kind of just felt ultimately like he thought the tone of the Gordy set was so creepy that it would elevate all those questions and ambiguity and somehow mesh with the unknown of the alien. But then we saw such a resolute, definitive end to the alien that had nothing to do with that theme that it confused me. It just confused me.
Yeah, I'll grant you that all of that was like to set up Stephen Yeun's like character's motivation, and it didn't entirely sell. Like that was something that I didn't get during the movie. It kind of came to me afterwards. So yeah, it didn't entirely sell, but
it's so enjoyable. I'm with you. It's just so entertaining, but it's funny that
powerful.
Yeah.
This was powerful. The whole the last time they cut back, and he had mentioned like a fist bump. There's the first fist bump.
First exploding fist bump.
And then that happens. Yeah.
And then that happens. That touched me. Don't get me wrong. Like there were things that it doesn't matter. You don't need them explained. It's just there's a beautiful image on camera. The first time the chimp looks at him,
was like, holy shit. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But it was
scary. It's evocative. But it's just unfortunate that I think I just don't know if it was effective in the way he wanted it to be effective. And I don't think we're alone, because I think a lot of people are just genuinely confused, and not the fun end of Twin Peaks confused. We're genuinely. It's a little bit of that Us feeling where I was like, I think I got it, and I don't think it made sense.
Did you notice the subtle hints that this was like, it wasn't being filmed as in this is what happened. It was filmed as his memory, because the shoe standing on its end was the shoe he had mounted on his wall, standing on its end. Like it was him remembering. So like it's possible half of that didn't even happen too. Like it was just his memory of it.
I guess so. The shoe was still
That was weird.
That was one of those where I wasn't even sure if it was.
It's one of those ones where you're like, and then like when I saw it on the wall, I'm like, oh yeah, we're seeing his memory of the event. But it's affected obviously by
I thought it was
an
alien thing, but I didn't know what the alien was at the time. So
yeah, I think that might have been an intentional misdirect. I don't know. I don't know what the motivation was for that.
That was cool. I thought the whole sequence was going to end up being like the animals are in the background.
Yeah.
What's actually important is that the theme of like a breaking point exists for everything in nature. And I thought we were going to go in on that shoe, and I thought it was going to be about how Stephen Yeun's little boy character eventually kind of looked past the crazy chimp and was so fixated on the breaking of reality with that fucking shoe that it was going to drive him. Like I thought that was going to open up all these other questions about what is real, and it
really
just
kind of sick
that.
that he had it mounted on his wall.
Yeah,
but you know the thing that got me the most, when that thing comes in and it takes the audience of the show, it like feeds on them, and you follow them up into it. And they're that was tense.
Sick,
and then all you can hear is them screaming, and you can still hear them screaming as it's flying through the clouds. And I'm like, oh, that is fucking horrific.
That was a tough way to go. That's a tough way to go.
Very effective. I guess I started thinking it was at that moment in my head that I thought, so it's a flying sarlacc. Like that's exactly like what I thought would happen when you fall into that fucking pit in the desert. That was terrifying, and
so they're all going to get out of it in 25 years and climb into a Bacta tank.
Oh, that's such a bad way to go. Oh my god! And also, it looked like satin in there, which is I don't know why it looked like a cowboy hat. I don't know why it looked like ribbons at the end. It's very curious. I'm sure there's a reason, but it's like it's so.
I don't think we.
I just know that's a bad way to die.
Well, it's a disgusting terrible way to die. I don't think we can praise the visuals enough. There was some of the most believable like visuals when it swooped down behind him on the horse, like all the flying around. It's easy to do that kind of stuff in the sky. You know, it's far away and it's an effective filmmaking technique. Like we don't have to worry about it. The details, it's behind clouds. We can sneak it in really quickly, but it shamelessly swoops down several times. That is really effective. Everything practical that happened over the house, the blood falling down, the water, the giant thing that created like a circle of rainwater. It was just so believable. It was really frightening that the technology can be used that well.
At the end, when they went full fucking like Japanese anime like creature and it expanded to be like miles wide and shit like that, I want to say it had the opposite effect on me. I got a sense of hopelessness so bad. I was like, he's gonna fucking kill everyone. No one can survive this. Like right at that moment before like she made the run for it and we got the resolve we got, I was like, he's like, no, they're dead. They're all dead. That was the thought that went through my head. So that one got me.
I love the TMZ guy getting fucking killed.
Yes. Everyone was waiting for it too.
It's such a good funny sequence.
I feel like people cheered in my theater.
When they were like the Austin Powers, there's no way anybody lived through that. You hear him scream in the distance. There was give me my camera. How are you not taping this?
Yeah.
I mean, that was really funny. Really funny. Was that Anthony Key? Do you think that was maybe Key inside that shit?
I think it was, to be honest.
I wonder, when I was watching, I was like, is that, I wonder if Key made it.
You see up under the helmet for a minute and it kind of looked like him.
It was really funny. So I guess the other big elephant I want to ask you guys about, because I don't think I'm alone, and Dave, you just gave your 2 cents a little bit, but I just didn't track the justification for what this alien eventually turns into. I don't think they set up the rules of it being a mimicker, as in it could have been a cloud, it could have been the top of the mountain, it could have been anything.
Yeah, no.
And then it turns into this other thing. And that just seemed like it just seemed like visually they were trying to make such an enormous statement of it unfolding into this other being. And just, again, thematically and just story-wise, with just what we were able to observe about it, I didn't understand why it happened. And it just kind of confused me. So I still, it's still a beautiful image. And I was still like, wow, this is really intense. But I didn't understand why it was happening. And, that always sucks a little bit. So, yeah, sure.
I will agree, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I remember, it looked pretty and it looked great. But when it did that, I was almost disappointed. I was like, it didn't need to.
Also, yeah, they did it a lot too. They did a lot. So that's why
it didn't. And yeah, the flipping back and forwards of the mouth. It didn't need to do anything. It was more terrifying as the capsule.
It was more terrifying doing this. I think this movie's it's a monster movie, and I think it's probably closer to Jaws than the other horror films that I think people expected when they watch this. I mean, it's one word. It's about animals. It is the villain is an animal. It's not the horses. It's the thing up top, which is driving the other animals crazy. And there is something. It almost has that feel of like you can't let the horses out of the barn. It's like you can't go on the beach. Like I feel like Jaws is probably the closest as far as like, not that it matters, but the scariest part of it was the couple sweeping things where you only saw it for half a second. And then when those fucking blow up things were dropping and you didn't even see it. Those are the scariest parts. I
think the house getting painted was the scariest part for me.
Or just when
what the fuck is going to happen? Like,
when he couldn't see the stars.
The scariest part of this whole movie,
was
the prank.
Oh my God, the prank was funny to me.
Those little kids. I mean, there's this moment in this movie where these kids are dressed as. My whole audience was like, "Oh, he's about to do it, dude. He's about to make a full-on fucking abduction movie. Like, what's going to happen?" I thought it was going to turn into this big like Mars Attack satire of them like fighting the aliens on horseback. I thought he was going to go there.
Yeah, nope. Daniel Craig's already done that. I love that he was fine with one alien. He's going to film that shit. Second, there were two. Nope, out of here.
Yeah, that's it. That was funny. That's
like that he punched a child. That was pretty hilarious.
I mean, that child had it coming, to be honest. Yeah. It's like that clip on the internet that everyone's seen where the guy jumps out of the bin at that guy and he just turns around and clocks him. It's like, you had that coming. What do you think was going to happen?
That's so fucking funny. But yeah, honestly, I hope I didn't sound like I was griping too much. Like, I still enjoyed it. It's just, you know, when you watch this kind of film, you kind of can't help but be on your toes a little bit for trying to understand, what does he want me to think? What does he want from me? You know, he wants us to think when we're in the theater. I know he does. He's a smart filmmaker. And it kind of felt like he got to certain points in the script. And God, Jordan Peele, I have so much respect for you. But there were these little things that just, it almost felt like they just didn't go back and justify them. They were creating these, you know, moving along, writing process. They're like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful idea. And they just forgot to just go back and one little kernel of these two or three things that I've complained about, and it would have totally made sense and been justified.
I will that is a fair observation, but also then I think, how many films has he written?
He's written 1 million short films, but yes, he's only written 4, I guess, if Keanu counts.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Keanu was funny. I just want my cat.
There are plenty of screenwriters who have only, you know,
but that's the thing. Like,
real good ones.
He's. I mean, I'm sure
won an Oscar for a second.
He's still getting there because let's face it. Like he nailed Get Out. It's divided on Us, and then this one we're kind of like, aside from a couple of things that didn't quite ring right, he nailed it.
Look, I know he took some time off. He did the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
Sorry, I just buzzed myself for even mentioning Twilight in this. So he did that.
He produced Lovecraft Country, I believe.
Yes.
He's not anywhere near prolific, but you know, at a certain point, I wonder if it becomes like like any other horror director where you just churn him out and he makes the movie he wants to make and everybody gripes and nobody ever thinks it's the masterpiece until it is and whatever. And it's like, these are all amazing movies and he's just going to keep making them and they're all going to be at least this good, you know? And
I know is I had a blast. I got some tense stuff. The guy next to me had a blast. The guy 2 seats down enjoyed the laughing bits.
I'm very excited to see what the next one is, and I hope he keeps giving it to us and he keeps churning them out. Anything else?
I'm sure he will. This movie made $44 million in the first weekend. It was a budget of $68 million. I think he's going to make his money back and then some. I think people are going to see it. Yeah. This was also, IMAX marketed this, you know, pretty strongly as the IMAX, you know, experience because he shot it in IMAX. So
they were not
that
kidding.
boosts ticket sales because a lot of people are going to try to see it in IMAX. Guys, I know we're not talking about this movie, but just for a quick second, if we're about to leave, the Oppenheimer teaser?
Oh, that was good. Yeah, I love when they make me wait a year for a movie. It's great.
Yeah,
but
they
great.
give you some great
Come
Houdini
on.
simulations and then the voiceover and then
Nolan's pretty good at the 30-second teaser or whatever that was. I enjoyed it.
Right.
All right. Well, Nope was definitely worth seeing. I'm excited to see it again. Maybe these things will bother me less the second time, and I can have a purely enjoyable experience.
You're going to enjoy the IMAX. I can tell you that.
The IMAX is cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Some of the audio panning, some of the stuff that they were trying to do in the digital theater, it ended up creating like weird artifacty sound. So I'm curious to hear if it sounds like that in IMAX, because
I didn't get that.
I feel like I was missing a lot of the 360 movement into regular theater.
Let's see it.
Let's do it.
All right, friends, we're going to wrap up there and then go with a quick round of what you've been watching to give you some recommendations for the week. Dave, we start with you. Talk to us.
I did a real rewatch of Star Trek Into Darkness. Went to Khan territory.
And?
I enjoyed it when it first came out. I wasn't as hard on it as everyone else was. I liked what they did. I liked they flipped the infamous scene. And I also started watching the Melissa McCarthy series God's Favorite Idiot, where this one guy gets given the power of God. I'm like 2 episodes in. I'm like, this is actually kind of funny. Like,
nice.
Yeah, I don't normally like Melissa McCarthy's comedy, but she's like very good in this.
Sweet.
Nice. I'm watching Goliath, the Amazon Prime series. Billy Bob Thornton plays a lawyer who's like a detective show, but he's a lawyer. That's really good. And I think I watched
Billy Bob will not be typecast.
Damn it, I saw something else. Fuck it, doesn't matter. What are you watching, Jeff?
I finally, and it has nothing to do with the Emmys coming out, but I finally got into Ted Lasso season 2. I feel like I've had a lot of things recently where it's like, I know I'm gonna like these, so I just need to do it. And this is literally my last week of grad school. I need to have everything submit by August 1st. So I'm like, it's just one of those where I'm watching where I'm like cooking and stuff. And this season of Ted Lasso is so fucking good. I mean, the first season was amazing, but I just watched. You're a Ted Lasso fan, right, John? So I just watched the Christmas episode and then the rom-com episode, and they were just so fun. I thought they were really well done.
It's just a big giant heart for you, just wrapped up.
And funny.
It's like a really, every now and then you find a Hallmark card that is actually funny.
Yeah.
Has some feels.
Like it makes you feel good, and it also is really witty and genuinely funny. It's so well made. It's exactly that.
There are some things that like genuinely, because they did this like spoof on rom-coms, and there are some things that genuinely made me laugh actually out loud, like by myself.
It's funny.
It's on my list. I haven't started it yet.
It's so watchable. 30 minutes.
It's just
super quick.
You just keep going.
Not 30, but 30 to 50.
You realize how much you enjoy it after like 2 or 3 or 4. You're just like, oh my god, I fucking really love this.
Did I talk about Stranger Things? I finished it.
Yes.
Did I talk about that?
Did you finish it?
Finish?
I had not. I don't think I had finished it. Did I say that last week?
One episode
I watched these last four fucking hours of 2 episodes of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
The last
Jeff,
marathon.
Your takeaway is totally correct. I still really enjoyed it. I think this was a big comeback because I did not care for the previous 2 seasons nearly as much as I cared for number 1.
Yeah, I love the first one.
But what did you say last week? I mean, it was really sentimental and sappy. And there's some ridiculous scenes with Will where he's like, "You're the heart." I mean, it was kind of silly.
Same thing with.
I still enjoyed the story a lot. I had a fun time.
Same thing with the boys. I really like the boys, but every single character had to have this full sentimental moment, and it's like, guys, we got an hour. All right, I can't give you all 5 minutes. Like, we got to keep going.
I also finished the boys. I didn't realize I hadn't finished that.
Except the TNT
either.
twins who just fucking hated each other.
God bless the TNT twins. Come back, TNT twins.
And you know what I realized? I didn't know this. I think Winona Ryder and David Harbour might be the highest paid earners on that. Maybe 11. Maybe she's up there. But like, why do they keep opening up the truck for them? We almost don't even need their characters anymore. Like, I'm sorry to them too, because they're amazing. But I said, no, well, hold on. My point, which I said last time, was it's just hard with these shows because in the first season it was her son and he was the helper because they had been in a relationship, and now, I mean, they're in fucking Russia, like, you know what I mean? Like the actions here, they're reaching, I think, a little bit with those characters.
They're bringing it back home for the next season.
Well, I know that.
I mean, the next one is the last one, so it's coming back to how it started.
I trust them. It's really well done.
Do you guys think? Do the people who know D&D inside and out already know how this story ends?
No.
No, because you never know how
Are you
D&D's
sure?
you never know how it's actually
'Cause
going
I
to
Because
do.
end.
they're like
No.
following the villains of D&D.
A little bit, yeah,
supposedly.
they are, yes.
So
Yeah.
But we've got to the main villain now.
Are all of the
Yeah, like-
villains demigorgons?
No, you got the mind
that was-
flayer.
I think the
All
most
right.
powerful ones are, and like that picture that he drew of the three-headed dragon, that's the most powerful villain in D&D. So we know that they're gonna end up facing that eventually. So I started laughing this season. I was like, is the rest of the world just getting
just a
punked by a
Hydra.
bunch of fucking Duffer Brother nerds? These guys are fucking writing D&D, and all of us
No,
are like, oh, this is so original.
They're definitely flicking.
Just like-
They're definitely
They
flicking
played
through
one
monster.
game and they've drawn it out of
Yeah.
6 seasons.
They're definitely flicking through the monster manual though for some character ideas.
Nice.
It's fun. I enjoyed it a lot. The sound design,
great.
the music editing was really cool in this season.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
Mhm.
A
I
lot
thought
of the
those-
general aesthetic was very rich.
I thought those kids were going to age out, but watching this season, I was like, they could definitely still be in high school next season.
Apparently, there's a time jump before the next one.
I mean, but
Somebody's
even
losing
if
their
there
virginity in
wasn't,
season 4. This is, I'm calling it right now.
I mean, they're already getting loose with the cursing and the weed and stuff. So like, yeah, they're gonna start fucking soon. I'm sorry.
What year is this supposed to be? In the 1980. What year? Do you have any idea what year it was supposed to be?
Yeah, because they went to
this
the
last
movie.
one?
They always go to the movies or something.
I think they're up to
shit.
89, aren't they?
Really? Oh no, they're gonna go
Okay.
early 90s and it's just gonna be bright colors and like flannels and
Yeah.
plaids and shit.
Anyway, sorry I had to interrupt, but
All right,
I
okay,
saw
cool.
the
Let's end
boys.
the
Keep going.
let's end the episode. We're doing Gattaca next, people, and we're gonna be kind of drunk for it. So rewatch Gattaca on Netflix and then come back and join us. Like, subscribe, Linktree. Anything else before we go, fellas? No, good. See ya, film fans.